As entrepreneurs, we all have a reason why we chose to leave our 9 to 5 for an 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm here to capture those stories of why we all hustle and grind for our companies. Steve Ramona discovered his calling at a young age and is now on a mission to share his secret sauce for success. He thrives on forging meaningful connections, sharing referrals, and watching people flourish. His contagious passion for the law of increase makes his podcast, Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, so successful. This show is chock full of inspiring stories about overcoming challenges and serving others. Steve has a knack for spreading good vibes and elevating those around him. He learned from his dad that an entrepreneurial spirit is a great way to make money. He loves to share stories of how people serve, struggle, and win. We must overcome something, so why not learn to serve and overcome it much faster? He learned early in his health club business the importance of customer service. He knew the more he served, the more it was a win-win for everyone. He enjoys working with people, referring people, and helping people to grow. The law of increase is his mission when he networks around the world. He loves to mentor business people and offer all the resources he has. To win, you must grow yourself first, then you can share this with others. He is also an avid reader. Hey, Steve, I want to say thank you so much for being on my podcast. I've really been looking forward to interviewing you, man. And again, so grateful for you to be here.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
It's absolutely going to be. So what I'd love to do, each one of us as entrepreneurs has our zone of genius that we work in, and I'd love to know what yours is. So would you describe that zone of genius that you love working in?
People, asset, business,
Okay.
Connecting people, partnerships, referring people, bringing resources. I love to bring value to people. I read Think and Grow Rich 2 years ago. It was late in the game, but never too late. In chapter 4, I never forget law of increase. How Napoleon Hill talks about that. Bring increase to the multi-billionaire or to that person making $50,000 a year. When you do that, universe changes. And when that happens, big things start happening.
Awesome. Was there any specific stories are my thing, of course, because you know that. So what was one story that you said, wow, this all just clicked? Because Think and Grow Rich can be a bit of a heavy lift, especially if you're first getting into it. There's a lot of huge, amazing information in there, but
yeah,
there's got to be that first point. So for you, what was that first point like?
Yeah, law of increase brought back me to my 18-year-old birthday.
Okay.
Just finished high school. My family launched a health club. Hey, why don't you come work for my cousin Jeff? Absolutely. I needed money. I need a job. Hey, I'll work for my family for the summer. It lasted 20 years, by the way. So I was there for a long time, became a director of operations, all that great stuff. But what I learned sitting in, behind the desk as people were coming in and checking them in, and I'm talking about 40, 50, 60-year-old people way above me, making millions of dollars, a very affluent group, was I could talk to these people like humans. And I started getting invited to lunch and dinners, or I'd be out and go, hey, Steve, and there's this guy worth $100 million or $10 million or very wealthy, like my friend. And my friends are like, how do you know that guy? He's a member of the club. That guy does really well. Are you his friend? I said, yeah, I guess you're friend. I guess we are. Because when you see somebody on a consistent basis, which was the benefit of working the front desk, is you build a relationship automatically. Hey, Andrew, have a great workout. Hey, Andrew, have a great day. And then eventually, hey, Andrew, how was your trip to Greece? Oh my God, Steve. And we'll talk for a couple minutes about the trip. With the building a relationship, I realized I'm building this huge network of people. I call it the people asset business. Didn't know it back then. I know it now. It took me 40 years or so. But I built this network, and what was very powerful, when I left the club we sold in 2000, I helped a guy start a restaurant. I brought that whole network to the restaurant. I'm talking thousands of people I met over 20 years. Then I brought him to my recycling company, brick and mortar business. Then I brought him to network marketing. I started doing that. And this is why I say your network's your net worth. Because as you build a network and build a relationship and bring value, the law of increase to people, I just did that with you before the show. Our relationship just got a little bit stronger, and you're going to trust me, I'm going to trust you, and all that's going to happen. I call it business marriage. If you have thousands of those people, will your business grow?
I think you hit on a great point there, because I know at my gym that one of the receptionists there, her name was Karen, and she's kind of this older lady, and every morning, I had an interaction with her, and it did turn into that thing where it's now like, hey, how's that trip? How you doing? I haven't seen you in a week. Where do you do it? There's also some accountability in that too. Where have you been?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it really
So
turned into
true.
a great thing. And like you're saying, that the network is your net worth is something that I found to be incredibly powerful. So it's just, I think that was one of the biggest things I've learned in business too. So it's just sort of an interesting to hear it yet again in the fitness industry, and how you can even build, some of your some additional relationships that way. So beyond the fitness industry, now, how did you get into your current industry? Can you see you've built a couple of businesses? And kind of where did that path take you? Where else did you go with that?
Well, always thinking. So I'm a part owner of a digital business card company. I'm
Yeah.
always, again, value. How can I bring these clients value? Well, one thing I started before I started my podcast was I took my clients and I would put them on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
Hey, meet Joe Smith. He's a this and this, and here's his digital business card. Yeah, subconsciously I'm putting it's called InPhone or in touchpad now
Okay.
in there. So it subtly was marketing our business,
Mhm.
but the main point of the post was promoting them. Hey, you need to check out this. Hey, this guy's got a great product. And nobody on LinkedIn was doing it. So when I've been thinking about a podcast for years. I'm like, why don't I do the same thing with the pod? But I didn't want to DIY it. I didn't want to go on YouTube and start searching and spending hours because I knew I wouldn't do it for hours. It'd take bits and pieces, and that doesn't work. I got lucky. One of my clients, Doug Cornfield, and shout out to him, thank you, introduced me to Pantheon, and we both know Josh Tapp.
Mhm.
And I met Kyle, who at the time was working with them, and he told me we're looking for 1,000 of the top thought leaders and experts to change the world. Rose my hand and said, Kyle, you've got me. I'm in. It's what I've been wanting to do for years. And then using the podcast as the catalyst, the nucleus. I remember my first meeting, October 4th, 2022, with Josh and the group. Said, Josh, I'm so excited. What do I do? He goes, start recording. Don't care about what it looks like, what happens, how it's going to look. Just start recording. And I told you the story where I clapped in the middle of the start of the recording and I kept it in there. And I go back and I laugh. And because you're going to grow anything that you do, your workout, you start day one, by day 365, you're going to be healthier, better off, and all that. The same thing with this. And it's been amazing because now I'm meeting people. I had a billionaire call me 10 weeks ago. I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Never talked to a billionaire in my life. Millionaires I have, but not billionaire.
Yeah.
And he reached out to me. But the other thing that Josh and the podcast taught me was shut up and listen. Really understand, and gave me the opportunity to bring more value. Somebody says this, hey, I need to introduce you to Andrew. Somebody says this, hey, I need to introduce you to Debbie. Somebody says this, I need to introduce you to Mariana. She's got a great podcast. The other thing I've learned with podcasts is it's my new digital, it's my new business card. I could go to somebody, for example, Lee Steinberg, top sports agent, Jerry Maguire, nobody knows, most people know the money, show me the money. Well, he wished he sent me a message on LinkedIn. Well, out of the blue, I just said, Lee, I'd love to have you on my podcast. I've been following you for years. He grew up in the area I came and he started working there. Absolutely. Talked to my assistant. I had Lee Steinberg, who's Patrick Mahomes' agent, on my show. So guess what? I get to go in his network. But the other thing is my universe has changed because now I can give more value and law of increase to more people and more people in their network. And then the universe goes, here's Steve, meet this billionaire. Here's Steve, meet this NFL player that's got a headset that deaf people can now hear. Your life just changes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the deaf headset, that's Tim Wright, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. I met him in December. So that's right. Yep. I got to
Yes,
hear those
that's
things. And they are
right.
truly amazing.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. They are truly amazing things. But I got to wear a Super Bowl ring too. So that was the first time I'd done that one. The picture of me somewhere.
Pretty cool. And a quick story about Tim, which I love
Yeah.
about people, is I first met him, know his background, and within a minute, he's showing me his hand with the Super Bowl ring. I'm going in my head, oh, this guy's got an ego. Okay, I'll just work through this, figure it. The nicest, the most humble, wonderful guy as you met him.
Yep.
So in the people asset business, I say open those doors. Walk in the door. Remember, it's a door. It goes both ways. You walk in that door, it doesn't fit you. In people asset business, you walk out, shake hands, you go out the door, and you don't work with them. That's not a bad thing. But how much time and effort and anxiety does that save you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And there you, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, you build a tribe around you of people that are at a similar kind of vibration, if you will. They're similarly that think like you do, that are kind of they will I want to say enrich your life in some way. So they bring something to the table, you bring something to them. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. And I think that's one thing, as far as, your network is your net worth. I think it's something that we don't look at as far as that phrase is concerned. We usually say, how many billionaires do I have in my circle? That's one thing, but it's how many people do I vibe with that we just go really create cool stuff with. Because
Yeah,
that's really kind of
yeah.
what this thing is it's just, let's go create some cool stuff with my friends.
That's exactly, you nailed it. That's
Yeah.
it. How fun
Yeah.
is that?
Oh, I love it. I get to have fun every day. And oh, by the way, I make money at it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. On a side note.
Exactly, exactly. And it's that level of creation. I guess that's one of the things. And I know some of the stuff that you're talking about too is, some law of attraction. Just you attract to you what you set out there. And one of the things that I've seen in the past is people are they get into this mindset of, I have to pay my bills, so therefore I have to go out and make money, and therefore I have to start selling people. And it doesn't work like that. It's different. It's totally counterintuitive, right? You know?
Yeah, I came up with a quote that just came to my head. Short-term money, you're not going to make. Long-term money is going to build your income. Do you want to keep somebody for 2 months and they go, hey, this isn't a fit because you didn't build that relationship, or build a relationship, sell them 2 or 3 months later, and they stay with you 3 years? I want you to think about that. Which one would you rather have? Yeah, no, it's tough those first couple of months and you're building. And there's ways that I can show you, and we show you in our Pantheon Mastermind things, to make money when you're in that desperation mode.
Mhm.
Share somebody else's business. You got a guy you love that your friends,
Mhm.
spend an hour a week, 2 hours a week, and go email or text or phone calls. Go, hey, I've got this great lady I want you to meet. She's doing this. She's a PR lady. She can really help you. And she pays me a little piece if somebody signs up.
Mhm.
So I can make money when I'm not making money.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something that I used too for myself, where it's like I would give away product for free. I would give away services for free. And I did it because I love what I do. So it's just, and sometimes there's just somebody when it's like, dude, I really want to hear your story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But building those strategic partnerships over time, you get one key person that you're like, look, I really love what you do. I really want to hear your story. I really want to do, something for you. And for me, it's a keynote. I'll do it for free for you. Just if you would refer it, that's great. I'll give you, a referral commission for it. But I'd really love to hear this. It gives them a better idea for what you do. At least that's kind of what I found is, when I say keynote architect, it's sort of nebulous to some people. They may not understand what it is. And so what I'll do is now they know exactly what I do. And now I can tap into the network, kind of like we were just saying earlier, right?
Beautifully said. And partnerships are the deal now. It's the new thing in business. I know people have been doing it. They're afraid. Now partner up with people. We do that in our mastermind that we're part of.
Mhm.
But the key thing with a partnership is you gotta like them. Got
Mhm.
to be something you believe. Don't just start grabbing a bunch of affiliate links and
Yeah.
blast people.
Yeah.
But what you want to do is build that long-term relationship with them, because you never know when somebody comes around to them. And it's happened to me. I give my podcasting services away all the time. I
Mhm.
sit down with you. I did that with you today, and then we're
Mhm.
friends. We're connected.
Mhm.
Give your stuff away. I think you mentioned before our show, give all
Mhm.
your good stuff away free. You're still going to be fine. A lot of highly successful people are doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a mentor of mine, Greg Reed, that said that. He'll be on the show too.
Yeah.
But same thing where,
Nice.
and he has one of the largest, best networking masterminds in the world, Secret Knock, and same thing where that's that whole core concept. And I think that's how you attract. Again, like going back to what you said earlier, where it's a two-way street. If I give value, you will give value, and it goes round, just round and round. And it's a whole lot more fun than trying to, close somebody. I always told people I hated sales because I didn't like that hardcore having to force somebody to do something that was against what they wanted to do. And for me, I wasn't good at sales. And for years I said I wasn't good at sales because of that. And it's like, well, this is a much better way to do it. It's much more effective. It's a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting. You're still selling, but you're selling a different way.
Yeah.
I went through a whole sales course for 2 years, spent $18,000. I'm glad I did. I learned a little bit, but it was really hardcore sales.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? To make up $18,000, you should have a coaching program, a high ticket offer. I didn't, but I was valued the education, the personal development.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So now podcasting, what's next for you in podcasting? I mean, so you're doing your podcast, you're doing your thing. Any cool stuff on the horizon? Anything kind of in the works going on that you'd be willing to share?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking for 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm at almost
Awesome.
10,000.
Okay.
It's a audacious, or I can't think. It's a big goal. Let's just use a simple word. But and people go, well, that's great. How many I have sponsors already. And I want to say it. I don't want to say, I always say I don't really care. I care about sponsors, but it's
Mhm.
not my focus. The 10,000 subscribers, not my focus.
Mhm.
My focus is to build my business with the podcast and build my network. And it came to a TV show. Now I have a TV show on
Oh,
Apple TV called
all right.
Together We Serve. And it came because of the podcast doing such a great job meeting people. Somebody introduced somebody, said, hey, we got to do a TV show. I just got asked to build a masterclass on futures television,
Okay.
all because of my podcast. They met me there. They love my message, whatever it may be. As you can see, my hub or my catalyst is the podcast.
Mhm.
That's, to me, it's the new now. I love Secret Knock, what they do, and there's some
Mhm.
really good networking groups out there. But for
Mhm.
me, right now, the best networking group is my podcast
Mhm.
because I get to know the guest. I'm promoting the guest.
Uh,
I bring them value after the show. Guess what? Well, how can I support you, Steve? Well, I need this. Great. Let me send this guy, this, celebrity. I'm talking to Les Brown. Possibly could be on my show. Holy
nice.
mackerel! Because I talked to a guy who really loved. He's going to be on my show. I'm going to be on his show, and it leads to, like you said earlier, friends working together. Like we're friends.
Mhm.
You asked me to be on your show. You're going to come on my show.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's such a non-aggressive way of selling your business and
Yeah.
selling yourself as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah. And shows interest. And where this came from, I know we're in the Alliance Mastermind together, and I held myself accountable in one of them going, I'm going to do this because it was that scary thing, letting somebody else know what you're going to do. And with you, it's the millions subscribers. It's that huge goal in the world that you just want to hit. And we're just going to do it because it's insane. We're insane enough to make it happen, right?
Yeah.
I think we're crazy enough to make it happen, kind of to take some liberties with Steve Jobs. But that's one of the things I've noticed is this is part of my process is sitting there hearing people's stories, listening to what's going on, saying, well, tell me some more about this. It's part of what I do to do a keynote, and it just kind of went part and parcel. But now I can get people on going, hey, if you want this experience, this is part of what I do, and this is what I do afterwards. And that makes a lot of sense. And once somebody said that, it's like, this is how I want to sell. This is how I want to build the community. And it sounds like you do exactly the same thing, where it's like, this is how I want to build that community. This is how I want to build to give people some reality on what I do and how I do it, and really kind of help that sales without actually selling. And honestly, I think a lot of people get a lot out of podcasts too. So there's a lot of value given back to the listener. I listen to a lot of podcasts. There's some I listen to when I'm in a really bad mood and I need some motivation. There's some that I'll listen to for education. I got into David Goggins for a while. I live like 3 miles down the street from where he lived at Paradise Road. So that's where I
Oh,
grew up.
wow.
So it's like I have some connection to that. But really, that's another part of it too, is with the podcast, it allows you to be able to give value to people through them sharing their stories, them sharing that special zone of genius that they operate in. Like I asked at the beginning of the podcast, like, what's your zone of genius? Now people can learn more about it. Right.
Yeah. And you get to add to what you do as a host, because people go, how do I do that? One, you can use your own business as your sponsor. But again, it's
Mhm.
about building that relationship and
Yeah.
not selling aggressively, but passively. By the way, I do keynote speaking. And by the way, Andrew does an incredible job. If you're a keynote speaker out there, you need to reach out to him and just do a discovery call. I've got some people I'm going to refer to him because it's such a great thing that he does. But the other thing about the podcast is it's so powerful is you can reach out to anybody.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to talk about themselves.
Mhm.
So I mentioned I'm at Lee Steinberg. I reached out to The Rock and Arnold Schwarzenegger because they
Uh-huh.
always talk about serving. My podcast is Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm like, you guys are servants. No, I haven't got them on my show. I may never. But like with Lee Steinberg and Ivan Meisner, Dr. Ivan Meisner, the
Mhm.
founder of BNI,
Yeah.
one of my guests said, hey, would you like him on your show? Absolutely. We did an
Yeah.
introduction. He jumped on my show.
Mhm. Yeah.
People, no matter what level they're at, they want to talk about themselves. They have stories, using your great verbiage. They have stories they want to tell about their lives. And what a great way to learn about somebody instead of like, My company is number 2 in the Fortune 500, and we do 100 million a year, and we do this. So we hear way too much. We want to hear about who the person is. And that's where stories, like you said, come from.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I find is when you get people that have a large amount of success, they get to that point where they've made their money. They're not as money motivated as they are sharing stories, sharing what they know, a service oriented person. And I think it's really interesting to see that transition happen. So once they get to the point, they're all good. Now they want to go out and share. They want to tell the story. Like you said, people love to tell about themselves and love to talk about themselves, have them tell a story, and they will just go on. We were talking earlier about lengths of podcasts and how long it is. And it's kind of some of the challenges because, I wanted to do like a 30-40 minute podcast because it's like, this is what, this is how long most of these conversations are because people like to tell stories. Yeah. And so do I. Yep. Yeah. I think it's an interesting thing to see.
And the other thing with highly successful people that I've learned over the last year is they need help.
Yeah.
This guy's a philanthropic opportunity. He wants to do a podcast. He knows nothing how to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. But he's going to reach out to me. He doesn't know my background, but he knows what I've done. So you have a product or service. Don't shy away from people that are very successful because they're always looking at ways to take care of people, to serve people, and to grow their company. And if you can do that, there'll be no problem for them to work with you.
Exactly. Especially if you have a service-based company. So the way that I like to run my company is I will give my best stuff away. I will show you the formulas I use. I will show you the worksheets I have. I'll show you the process I do it because that's not the way that I do business. I want to help somebody that couldn't necessarily, maybe not afford what I do to really be able to go out and do it. But what I do what I find is that the clients I get, especially the ones that are very successful, they want me to do it for them. Because now I'm saving them time. If I can save them time or make them money, that's kind of what they like. And so that way, it's if you're service oriented, and usually you kind of jump in, they'll often. I like working with them because usually it's like I don't care what the bill is. You are solving a problem for me. I will pay whatever it is. Let's just do this, and I get some of the coolest stories out of it. I get some of the coolest experiences, and now I get to tap the brain of, let's say, a billionaire. I get to hear what they did and be able to learn from it as well. So it's a mutually beneficial thing. It's just awesome. So yeah.
And I hope the audience took that, and that's a great tip that you get get into their brain, get into their network. Mm-hmm. And they're more willing to do that, where they won't do it for most people because everybody's going after them in the wrong ways. You went after them in the right way to help them. Yeah. Everybody's human. We're fallible, but we all want to serve. It's just some people serve more than others. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. But people do have that intrinsic will to serve and that intrinsic will to help others. And it's something that's really powerful. And I think it's something that, again, doing cool stuff with my friends. That's what we do.
So awesome. I love that story. So good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you being on the podcast today. Again, totally honored to have you here as a guest. And, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, man. So I guess one other quick thing that I want to do before this, and I'm doing this with my guests as we go forward. What is one book or podcast that has really changed your life that you would recommend to others?
So I mentioned Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. Love it. And the other one I love is, because we're in the people asset business, we have to communicate better, communicate the right way. Steve has this book, Steve Woodruff, called The Point. How to communicate better with everybody that you talk to, everybody you meet. And it's short book, 60 pages, but I bought the book, read right through it. It's like changed my whole life.
Huh. Good to know. See, I realize that by asking questions like this too, I'm going to have to put another line item in my budget for my Amazon bill for
yeah.
Because there's so
Me
many
too.
good books out there.
Raise my hand. Yeah.
I actually stole that question. I have to say I stole it from Bigger Pockets because they do the same thing too. So I read so many books and I just figured it's a good thing to ask what's something that, what's something that's really changed your life. And honestly, I've not heard of that communication book. So to add another line item to my budget.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing for me is the Bible, of course, the most selling book in the world. Yeah. That's the other thing that I study and, every morning. So, but great question. I love that because we all should be reading.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you listening so much. Or listening if it's on.
I think a little of each.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah.
Nice smearing of each. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yep. Bye now. Thanks again for joining us on the Hustle and Grind podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Steve, check out the link in the description. You can also check out his podcast, Doing Business with a Servant Heart. If you go there, just make sure to also check out the interview that I did with him.